Okay, let's talk about Pope Pius IX. He was born 1792 and died 1878. He had the longest pontificate in Catholic history. He was born Giovanni Maria Mastai Ferretti. He became Pope in 1846 and started liberal reforms in the Papal States. He is also known as Pio Nono. You have to remember that the Pope was also governor of the Papal States, and he really was not liked very well by the Italian citizens because he was really like a dictator. Not all were treated equally in the Papal States. For example, the voice of a Jew had no relevance in a court of law, and the Protestants had few rights themselves. The Pope is mostly known for establishing the doctrine of infallibility, which says the Pope is infallible when he speaks ex cathedra on faith or morals. I found a lot of detailed info on the history of the day that the mobs took over the Vatican in 1848. They killed the Pope's Secretary of State, shot cannons at the papal's residence. The Cavalieri and the Senate abandoned the Pope and left him without protection. The Pope was forced to flee Rome disguised as a regular priest with his friend Antonio. 17 months later, the Pope was able to return with the help of the soldiers of Napoleon III. After Pope Pius IX returned, he became very conservative and vindictive, most surely because of the humiliation he suffered for having to flee the sacred throne of the Catholic Church. A very famous case of kidnapping gave this Pope a very bad reputation, especially internationally. As the story goes, there was a Jewish boy named Edgardo Mortara. The family had a Christian servant. The boy was sick one day, and the servant thought he would die, so she baptized him, therefore making him a Catholic. Under Catholic law, a Christian cannot be raised by a Jew. So the Pope took the boy away from his parents, against their will and everything. The boy was never returned to his parents. The parents were obviously upset. Can you believe this? This made newspapers all over the world. Napoleon III in the United States and England, they begged the Pope to return the boy to his parents, but he never did. A horrible story. And now the Catholic Church wants to make Pope Pius IX a saint. This is incredible. Okay, moving on to the First Vatican Council. From the beginning of this council, 1869, the question of infallibility dominated the discussion. A vigorous minority opposed this doctrine both on theological and historical grounds and as being inopportune. Nonetheless, on July 18, 1870, the council solemnly accepted the proposition that when a pope speaks ex cathedra on faith or morals, he does so with the supreme apostolic authority, which no Catholic may question or reject. About 60 members of the council effectively abstained by leaving Rome the day before the vote. There's even a story where after the vote was passed and approved, a storm broke out and lightning actually broke a window at the Sistine Chapel. Actually, there was 2 sessions of the Vatican. Also, right during the time that the council was taking place, the French broke out in war with the Germans. And remember that Napoleon III lost in the Battle of Sedan. Well, since he lost, Napoleon III had to take his troops out of Rome, and those troops were protecting the Pope. Let's see what Baha'u'lláh said to Pope Pius. His letter arrived before the council started.
O Pope, rend the veils asunder. He who is the Lord of Lords is come, overshadowed with clouds, and the decree hath been fulfilled by God, the Almighty, the Unrestrained. Thus hath the pen of the Most High commanded thee at the behest of thy Lord, the Almighty, the All-Compelling.
In the letter, Baha'u'lláh states in strong terms that he is the Lord of Lords and the return of Christ. He uses some Christian terms and cites the Bible. Several times he compares himself to Christ.
He verily hath again come down from heaven, even as he came down from it the first time.
He tells the Pope, do not be like the Pharisees.
Beware that thou dispute not with him, even as the Pharisees disputed with him without a clear token of proof.
He reminds the Pope that while the religious leaders of that time rejected Jesus, a poor, uneducated fisherman immediately recognized the glory and majesty of Jesus.
Call thou to remembrance him who was the Spirit, who, when he came, the most learned of his age, pronounced judgment against him in his own country, whilst he who was only a fisherman believed in him. Beware lest any name debar thee from God, the Creator of earth and heaven.
When he tells the Pope not to let any name debar thee from God, this goes to some of the writings of Baha'u'lláh on detachment. And one of the levels of detachment is the kingdom of names that Baha'u'lláh calls it. It's where sometimes people cannot detach themselves of their name or title, like I am the king, I am the Pope, I am a ruler, I am an artist. Sometimes people can't detach themselves from those titles, and it ends up hurting them spiritually. It's a good topic for discussion.
Leave thou the world behind thee, and turn towards thy Lord, through whom the whole earth hath been illumined. Dwellest thou in palaces, whilst he who is the King of revelation liveth in the most desolate of abodes? Beware lest human learning debar thee from him who is the supreme object of all knowledge. The word which the Son concealed is made manifest. Lo, the Father is come, and that which ye were promised in the kingdom is fulfilled.
I would like to interject something about Baha'u'llah's letters here. Baha'u'lláh not only addressed each ruler, he would also address all of humanity, or maybe all Christians, or maybe all followers of all religions. At times he would teach a virtue or give spiritual advice to the general public. These letters are for everyone to read and are important sources of knowledge and study on many levels. Let's make a little summary. The Pope receives the letter from Baha'u'lláh shortly before the First Vatican Council, where they established the doctrine of infallibility. Within days after that decision, Napoleon pulls his troops out of Italy to fight the war with Germany. With no protection, the Italian armies invade the Vatican and tell the Pope that the Papal States no longer exist. The Pope is left with only the small area of the Vatican. He refuses to accept the Italian government's law of guarantees, which offered an indemnity in return for the Pope's disavowal of temporal authority. The Pope never accepted this. He never left the palace and really ended up dying there in 1876. There was so much dislike for this Pope that at his funeral, some radicals almost succeeding in throwing his casket into the river. Okay, that concludes the story of Pope Pius IX. We're going to move on to the Queen of England, Queen Victoria.